Let me ask you something. What if this year could be the year that changes everything for you? Not just another 12 months passing by on the calendar, not just another cycle of routines and responsibilities, but a year that you look back on and say, that was the year I became unstoppable. That was the year I created my masterpiece. Most people don't live that way. Most people repeat the same year over and over again. They carry the same habits, the same excuses, the same limitations, and then wonder why nothing feels different. They survive instead of truly living. But here's the truth, you don't have to live like that. You can decide right now that this year is going to be different. You can make this year the one where you finally break through, where you stop playing small, where you stop letting fear and procrastination steal your potential. And I want you to imagine this for a moment. Imagine if 12 months from now, you could look back and see yourself transformed, healthier, stronger, more confident, more fulfilled, more in control of your life than ever before. Imagine feeling proud, not because you got lucky, but because you designed it, you built it, you created it with intention. That's what I mean by a masterpiece year. A year that doesn't just happen to you, but a year that you sculpt like an artist with a blank canvas. And every choice, every action, every moment of courage adds color and depth until you've created something extraordinary. This isn't motivation for a day. This is about creating momentum for a lifetime. And if you stay with me through this message, I'm going to give you the exact steps, the 4 keys that will allow you to take control of your year, to raise your standards, to build the rituals, and to master the state of mind that will carry you through any storm. Because here's the reality. World is not going to slow down for you. Life will not hand you your masterpiece, but you can choose to create it. You can choose to design a year so powerful, so meaningful, that it becomes the foundation for the rest of your life. So I want you to lean in, listen closely, and commit to yourself that you're not just going to hear these words, you're going to live them. Because if you do, this won't just be another speech you listen to. It will be the spark that ignites the masterpiece year of your life. The very first step to creating a masterpiece year is to decide what a masterpiece even looks like for you. Because here's the reality. Most people don't fail in life because they're not capable. They fail because they never actually define what success means to them. They get caught in the noise of the world, running after someone else's version of success, chasing goals that don't even light them up inside. And when you do that, even if you win, you lose. Because achievement without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So if you're going to make this the year that transforms everything, it begins with clarity. You have to get brutally honest with yourself. What do you want this year to represent? Who do you want to become by the time it's over? Not just what do you want to get, not just what do you want to accomplish. Who is the person you want to evolve into along the way? That's the real masterpiece. Most people drift through the year like a ship without a rudder, reacting to whatever life throws at them. One challenge comes, they respond. One opportunity shows up. They chase it blindly. They let their environment dictate their direction. But you can't paint a masterpiece if you let someone else hold the brush. You have to take that brush in your own hands and decide the picture you're going to create. Think about it. Every great artist begins with a vision. Before the first stroke of paint hits the canvas, they already have an idea in their mind of what they're creating. It doesn't mean the picture won't evolve along the way. It doesn't mean there won't be changes, adjustments, even mistakes that get turned into part of the design. But they begin with intention. And if you want this year to be extraordinary, you need the same kind of vision. I want you to imagine something. Imagine it's the final day of this year. You're looking back at the last 12 months of your life. What would make you feel alive with pride? What would make you feel that deep sense of fulfillment that says, this wasn't just another year I survived. This was the year I thrived. This was the year I finally broke through. Get a picture of that in your mind. Because if you can't see it, you'll never create it. Here's the truth. You don't need to know every detail. You don't need to have the entire map laid out in advance. What you need is direction. A masterpiece year is not about perfection. It's about progress with purpose. If you know where you want to go, you can adjust along the way. But without that clarity, you'll end up living another year that looks just like the last one. Clarity gives you energy. When you know what you want and why you want it, you wake up differently. You carry yourself differently. Your brain starts to focus on the things that matter instead of scattering your attention in 1,000 directions. It's like a magnifying glass. When the light is scattered, it doesn't do much. But when it's focused, it can set things on fire. That's the power of deciding what your masterpiece looks like. And don't just think about goals on paper. Think about experiences. Think about relationships. Think about the moments you want to create, the emotions you want to feel, the growth you want to experience. Too many people set goals that are purely external, more money, more success, more recognition. There's nothing wrong with those. They're empty if they're not connected to something deeper. You don't just want a year of more, you want a year of meaning. And meaning only comes when your vision aligns with your values. So let me challenge you. Take the time to define this masterpiece year for yourself. Not a vague wish, not some casual resolution that fades away in a few weeks, but a crystal clear decision of what matters most to you. What do you want to stand for? What do you want to give? What do you want to experience? Who do you want to become? Because once you decide that, once you lock in that vision, everything else begins to shift. Your choices change, your standards rise, Your daily actions begin to line up with that picture you're holding in your mind. And that's the beauty of it. When you know what masterpiece you're building, even the challenges take on a new meaning. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you see them as part of the design. Every struggle becomes a stroke on the canvas, shaping the final picture. And that's when life gets exciting. That's when you stop being a passenger and start being the artist of your own destiny. So if you want this to be the year that transforms everything, don't wait for life to decide for you. Decide for yourself. Paint the picture, create the vision. Choose what a masterpiece year means to you and commit to building it no matter what. Because clarity is the first stroke on the canvas of your masterpiece life. Once you've decided what your masterpiece year looks like, the next step is raising your standards and committing relentlessly to living them. Because clarity alone isn't enough. You can have the most beautiful vision in the world. You can see your masterpiece crystal clear in your mind. If your standards don't change, nothing else will. Your life is always a reflection of what you are willing to tolerate. Whatever you consistently allow, whatever you settle for, becomes the quality of your life. And if you want a different year, you must decide right now that you will no longer settle for less than what you're truly capable of. Think about it. Every breakthrough in your life has come from a moment where you raised your standards. Maybe it was the moment you decided you would never again accept being unhealthy, the moment you decided you would no longer allow yourself to stay in a toxic relationship, or the moment you chose to demand more from your career, your finances, your growth. That one decision, that one shift in what you were no longer willing to accept changed everything. And that's what this year requires if you want it to be your masterpiece. You have to raise the bar on yourself, not once, not for a week, but permanently. You have to decide that the old excuses, the old patterns, comfort zones that have been holding you back, they're done. Because you can't step into the next version of yourself while clinging to the habits of the old one. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Raising your standards isn't about talking big, it's about living differently. It's not about declaring, I want more. It's about proving it in the way you show up every single day. Because words don't change your life, behaviors do. Commitment is not what you say in the light when it's easy, it's what you do in the dark when no one's watching, and commitment is tested. You'll be tempted to go back to comfort, tempted to take shortcuts, tempted to quit when progress feels slow. That's where relentless commitment comes in. The kind of commitment that says, I don't care how long it takes, I don't care how uncomfortable it feels, I will not go back to average, will not settle for the masterpiece I've decided to create. Think of any great achievement in history, any great leader, athlete, entrepreneur, artist. They all had one thing in common, standards that were higher than everyone else's, a commitment that outlasted everyone else's. They didn't just want success, they demanded it from themselves. And that demand shaped their decisions, their habits, their results. So let me ask you, what have you been tolerating in your life that's keeping you from the year you know you're capable of creating? What patterns have you let slide? What standards have you let drop? Maybe it's the way you treat your body. Maybe it's the way you manage your time. Maybe it's the way you show up in your relationships. If you're honest with yourself, you already know the areas where you've been settling. Those are the very areas where you must raise your standards right now. When you raise your standards, something powerful happens. You begin to close the gap between your vision and your reality. You stop being someone who talks about what they want, you become someone who lives it. And people will notice, they'll see the shift in your energy, in your presence, in your results. But more importantly, you'll feel the pride of knowing you didn't just dream about a masterpiece year. You built it decision by decision, action by action. And understand this commitment doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you'll never stumble. You will. You'll have days where you slip, days where you feel off track, days where the old habits try to creep back in. That's part of the process. But relentless commitment means you don't stay down. You don't let one bad day turn into a bad week, one setback turn into a spiral. You get back up, you realign, you recommit, and you keep moving forward. That's how standards become your new normal. So as you step into this year, don't just raise your standards in theory. Raise them in action. Raise them in the way you treat yourself, in the way you pursue your goals, in the way you refuse to accept mediocrity. And then back those standards with a level of commitment that doesn't fade when it gets hard, but grows stronger because it's hard. That's the kind of resolve that builds a masterpiece. Because when you raise your standards and commit relentlessly, you stop living like the rest of the world. You stop living by chance, by comfort, by circumstance. You start living by choice, by discipline, by design, and that is the foundation of every extraordinary year. Once you've decided on your vision and raised your standards, the next step is the most practical and powerful, turning that vision into daily rituals. Because here's the truth, your life doesn't change in a single moment of inspiration. It changes in the habits you repeat every single day. People overestimate what they can achieve in a short burst of motivation and underestimate what they can build through consistent, disciplined action over time. A masterpiece year is not the result of one big breakthrough. It's the product of small, deliberate choices compounded over 365 days. Look at anyone who has transformed their life in a significant way and you'll find the same secret rituals. They don't just hope they'll feel motivated each morning. They've designed routines that anchor them to their vision. They've created patterns that serve their future rather than sabotage it. Because motivation will come and go, but rituals carry you through whether you feel like it or not. Think about it. Your morning determines your day. How you start sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately grab your phone, scroll through negativity, rush out the door, already feeling behind, that's the state you've primed yourself to live in. But if you wake up with intention, if you give yourself space to breathe, to move your body, to fuel your mind, to focus on what matters, you set yourself up to win before the day even begins. That's not an accident. It's a ritual. And it's not just about mornings. It's about how you structure your energy throughout the day. Do you have rituals for focus, rituals for recovery, rituals for connecting with the people you love? Do you just wing it and hope it all works out? Too many people think rituals make life rigid, but the truth is they create freedom, because when you've already decided how you'll act, when you've already built habits that align with your vision, you don't waste energy on decision fatigue. You don't rely on willpower every time. You rely on systems that pull you toward who you want to become. Let's be honest, your rituals already exist. Every single one of us has them. The question is whether your rituals are empowering you or disempowering you. Maybe your ritual is hitting snooze 5 times. Maybe your ritual is grabbing junk food every afternoon when you're tired. Maybe your ritual is distracting yourself with hours of meaningless scrolling at night. Those are rituals too. And if you keep them in place, they'll keep producing the same results. If you want a masterpiece year, you need rituals that sculpt that masterpiece, not destroy it. So take a hard look at the routines that shape your days. Ask yourself, are they pulling me closer to the vision I've set, or are they keeping me stuck where I am? Don't just try to remove the destructive ones. Replace them. Nature hates a vacuum. If you cut out a bad habit without filling that space with something empowering, you'll slip back into the same patterns. Replace scrolling with reading something that fuels your growth. Replace procrastination with a ritual of taking the first small action immediately. Replace numbing yourself with that actually restore you. Exercise, meditation, journaling, gratitude. Here's the key. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Start small, but start now. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. The most powerful rituals are simple, repeatable, and consistent. 5 minutes of intention in the morning can change the way you show up for the next 16 hours. A short daily practice of gratitude can rewire your brain to focus on what's working instead of what's missing. 10 minutes of movement can shift your energy and your confidence. Over time, those small rituals stack up and create massive momentum. The mistake people make is thinking they'll change their life when they feel ready or when they have more time, when the conditions are perfect. But you and I know those days never come. Change begins when you take ownership of today. The rituals you commit to now are what will shape the masterpiece you look back on at the end of the year. So I challenge you to design your days like an artist designs a canvas. Be intentional about the strokes you're adding, because each one matters. Don't underestimate the power of consistency. Don't underestimate the impact of the choices that seem small. Because in the end, it's not the big moments that create your masterpiece year. It's the rituals you live by, the daily commitments that compound into something extraordinary. And when you lock those rituals in, your vision is not just an idea, but a lived practice every single day. That's when the masterpiece stops being a dream and starts becoming your reality. No matter how clear your vision is, no matter how high you raise your standards, no matter how strong your rituals become, life will still test you. There will be challenges you didn't see coming, setbacks that knock the wind out of you, disappointments that make you question if you're really on the right path. This is where most people lose their masterpiece year. Not because they lacked a plan, not because they weren't motivated, but because they didn't know how to master their emotional state when life pushed back. Difference between people who create extraordinary years and those who repeat the same old patterns isn't that one group had fewer problems. It's that they responded differently. They chose not to be controlled by the storm, but to become the storm. They chose not to collapse under pressure, but arise with it. That's what mastering your state is all about, taking control of the only thing you truly can control in this world, yourself. Emotional state is the filter through which you experience life. When you're in a powerful state, energized, focused, confident, you handle challenges differently. You see solutions instead of problems. You push forward instead of retreating. When you're in a disempowered state, tired, anxious, fearful, suddenly even the smallest obstacle feels overwhelming. It's not the event that determines your outcome, it's the state you bring into the event. And the truth is, your state doesn't just happen to you. You create it. You decide consciously or unconsciously how you show up. Your body, your focus, your language, all of it shapes the way you feel in any given moment. If you slump your shoulders, breathe shallow, repeat stories about how nothing ever works, you will feel defeated. But if you stand tall, breathe deep, shift your focus to what you can control, and use words that empower you, suddenly your state changes. And when your state changes, your choices change. So if you want to create a masterpiece year, you must train yourself to master your state, especially in the moments when it's hardest. Because storms will come. The question is not if, it's when. And when they do, You be the person who crumbles or the person who rises stronger. Adaptability is the second piece of this puzzle. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who adapt faster than everyone else. Life rarely goes according to plan. Your vision will evolve. Your rituals may need adjusting. The world will throw curveballs you could never predict. But adaptability means you don't get stuck. You don't waste energy wishing things were easier or clinging to the way things were. You stay flexible. You look at what is not what you hoped it would be, and you ask, how can I use this? How can I grow through this? Can I turn this into part of my masterpiece? That mindset is what separates winners from quitters. Most people let obstacles define them. They hit a wall and decide it's over. But if you're committed to a masterpiece year, you don't stop at the wall, you find a way over it, around it, or straight through it, because the masterpiece is never built on perfect conditions. It's built in the mess, in the struggle, in the moments when you could have given up but didn't. Here's the paradox. It's often the hardest challenges that become the most beautiful strokes on the canvas of your year. The failure that forced you to grow, the setback that made you more resourceful, the disappointment that taught you resilience, those are the very things that give depth and meaning to your masterpiece. Without them, it would just be a flat picture. With them, it becomes alive, rich, unforgettable. So when life tests you, and it will, remember this, you are bigger than the problem. You are not defined by the challenge. You are defined by how you respond to the challenge. And every time you choose to master your state, every time you choose to adapt instead of collapse, you carve another piece of strength into the masterpiece you're creating. Because at the end of this year, when you look back, it won't just be the easy victories that make you proud. It will be the storms you faced, the battles you fought, resilience you built. That's what will make you look in the mirror and say, this was my masterpiece year.